Okay, hey everybody, Tekking101 here. I love this jacket. Look forward to me wearing this just in videos in the future, whether or not they include the actual topic of Attack on Titan or not, because it's just one of those things where, well, first I spent 30 bucks on the freaking thing, so yeah, I mean, just for that fact, I'm gonna be wearing this thing to sleep, probably. It's a little bit short, as you can tell that the sleeves aren't exactly matching up here, but I am sitting down. But yeah, when I stand up, it's a little bit better. But you know the weird thing? I ordered it as a medium, because I usually wear a small shirt, and I figured, well, if I order a medium, then it's a little bit bigger. Bigger's better than a short. And it comes in the mail, and instead I get a large, or at least it said large in big, bold print, so I'm assuming they sent me the wrong one. But even still, if this is a large, oh my god, I would wish, like, if I got a medium, I would not be able to fit into this thing. Okay, but anyway, on to the actual topic of this video. About a week ago, there was a kind of extremely significant television event simulcasted to practically every single country known to mankind. I think it was like over 50 or something. Actually, I think it won the Guinness Book World Record for most simulcasted event at multiple different time zones and countries and everything, and that was the Doctor Who 50th Anniversary Special! Do-do-do-do, we can't afford the music. Doctor Who is like one of the most copyright protected things I've ever seen. I mean, I understand the BBC is proud of it because it's like their little nest egg. You know, if every other TV show on the BBC turns out to be crap that year, they can always rely on Doctor Who. You know, that's going to save them if that company ever goes bankrupt. But for that reason, if you put any kind of, like, unless you can, like, distort it, because people do, like, remixes and stuff, but for the most part, any thing you put on YouTube and it's Doctor Who related, you know, 90% of the time it's going to be uploaded by the BBC themselves. But anyway, 50th anniversary happened, and ever since then, I've been getting email after email after email over and over again. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I don't even use Twitter, but, you know, asking me, he's like, Tekking, are you going to talk about the 50th? Tekking, are you going to talk about the 50th? Well, I'm not going to make, like, a full-on Tekking, you know, 101 video about it in the studio or anything, because I know a majority of my audience, you know, is from the UK, but, you know, Doctor Who videos, they don't exactly, it doesn't actually garner a huge amount of my audience. You know, but some of them are actually interested in it because I mentioned it. I also get some messages saying, "Oh man, Tekking, you mentioned Doctor Who and you said it was so great on your live stream or whatever," and I went out and watched it, and thank you because it was great. So, you know, if I'm helping you discover it, go ahead, because I discovered it a very similar way. So, I'm just gonna make a quick vid here about some positives and some negatives I liked about the special, because it wasn't perfect. I know we would like to think like this was the most amazing thing that ever happened in time and space, or you know, in this universe or any universe beyond that. But, you know, there's some problems with it, but it was still really good. So if you want, like, my final, you know, my final grade on the special, I'd still give it an A, just not an A+. Alright, so, positive and negative. Let's start off with the negatives. Let's just start off that so we can leave with a positive. Okay, one negative I had right off the bat, and some of you might not, you might say there's a reason for this, was simply the runtime of the special. The special was a little bit longer than a regular Doctor Who episode. I think the regular specials are about maybe well, it was commercial free, which helped, and I guess that'll be a positive, but in the end of the day, it was about an hour long, about an hour and 10 minutes, and I just think they could have done way more in the time frame they had. I mean, I know they had, like there was a really big indoor special, there was a lot of different, like, on-location shooting, there was a lot of special effects, there was a lot of stuff used, but they knew about the 50th way far in advance. They should have planned this out, and I'm not saying, like, it should have been, like, well, they actually kind of released it like a theatrical movie in a lot of respects. It really had that feel like it was an actual movie instead of a television special, but just the length that really caught me off guard. You know, I was expecting at least an hour and a half. I know it was a little bit below that. I know I was expecting at least an hour and a half, but then again, there wasn't any commercials, so I guess that's a bonus, but that's just a little thing for me. I think they could have done a lot more stuff with it if the time frame was a lot longer, and it's not like they just came out of nowhere on this. They knew, obviously, when the 50th anniversary would, you know, have to come up. So positive in regards to that was it wasn't just a Matt Smith, David Tennant shenanigan fest for an hour. And, you know, I was worried about that because, you know, when they announced, you know, David's coming back, Rose is coming back, you know, and then they have John Hurt in here, you know, everything. I'm just like, okay, and David Tennant and Matt Smith, this was back before I knew what John Hurt's role was going to be. I just knew he was going to be in the special. I think a lot of people thought of back then that he was going to play the role of the villain or something. This is before the name of the Doctor. This is before any of that came out. This, like, he was announced as, like, in March, I think. But anyway, when David was announced that he was going to come back, I was starting to get a little bit worried. I was like, okay, obviously it's going to be great to see David again, but I really hope they don't just keep it, like, in jokes and shenanigans between the 11th and 10th Doctor for an entire hour, and they just shove plot aside. It's like, it's cool, it's cool, we got David and we got Matt, you know, they'll have a fangasm just from being on camera together and exchanging, you know, dialogue for like an hour and a half. That's fine, we'll just keep it with that. So, they didn't though. They did keep that to a minimum. There was a couple of scenes that seemed like, okay guys, you're kind of driving in a little bit too deep here, like when, at the very end of the special, oh, spoilers, when, all the doctors are getting ready to leave in their TARDISes? What's the plural of TARDIS? Seriously, what is the plural of TARDIS? I don't think it's ever come up, because usually there's only been one TARDIS. But the doctors are ready to all leave in their TARDIS, and, you know, so the 10th Doctor gets in he's about to leave, and he's just like, Trenzalore, I don't want to go. And he leaves, and Matt Smith's like, he always saying that. And he's like, okay, you get it, guys, because he said it, and, you know, that doesn't even work. You know, because in the end of time, it was David Tennant's last words as the Doctor. I don't want to go. And it was so impactful. Now, I have my problems with it, but I understand where it was coming from, because he was about to die, and you have to have every Doctor has to have some very either meaningful, jolly, sad, envious, some kind of word to play him out, because guess what? After this, for the most part, it's all gone. You know, Christopher Eccleston's, you know, you were fantastic. And you know what? So was I. And that was really good. That was very upbeat. And David's didn't really go with that, because the events leading up to David's death were a little bit more darker. So when he's like, I don't want to go, I'm like, I have my problems with it, but okay, I understand why they said it. There was multiple takes. But then you throw it in here, and it's just like, because it's not even in the same situation. It's not in the same, you know, emotional light. It's just something I didn't really enjoy. So that's another negative I had. Other positive was the way they incorporated the Zygons. Because I heard the Zygons were going to be the enemy, and they're not the enemy, they would appear. And I was thinking, once again, they were going to go back to the whole Matt Smith, David Tennant shenanigans fest, and they weren't really going to focus on the main enemy that much. So when they said the Zygons were going to come back, I was thinking there's going to be, they're probably going to be on screen for like 20 minutes. They're probably going to be barely mentioned. I did not actually plan them on being the main enemy of the entire episode. You know, I was this is I think after the name of the Doctor was released, and we knew that John Hurt was going to play the Doctor, at least in some incarnation. So all the fandom was thinking the main conflict in the entire episode is going to be the 10th and 11th Doctor versus John Hurt's Doctor, you know, and any other enemy is just going to be coincidental. So, you know, that's the major positive what they did with the Zygons, and I really even kind of have to branch that out into the way they even incorporated John Hurt. The way that they actually don't have John Hurt as the enemy. They actually have John Hurt, you know, working with the Doctors, trying to, you know, and they work off each other so well, because the 10th and 11th obviously know what's going to happen with the, I guess it would be the, I'm just going to call him the War Doctor. I was going to say the 9th incarnation, but that's going to put us problems in the future. We got a whole new numbering system now. It's like if you incorporate, you know how it goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's like if some mathematician came out of nowhere and be like, hold on. It actually goes, after I ran the numbers a little bit, it actually goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Schmega, 9, 10. So we have to incorporate Schmega from now on. You know, it doesn't make any, it's going to take a while to get used to. But, so they had John Hurt as really kind of a protagonist, or kind of, not even really an anti-hero, just kind of a sympathetic person that's had a lot of shit they've had to deal with. Alright, so, that was, what was that? That was a positive, but I also branched off on another positive. Okay, another negative. What negative? What other thing did I not like? Okay, this is going to be breaching, you know, like, the main Whovian etiquette here, where it's really, I mean, no, I shouldn't say Whovian etiquette, I'd just be like, at the end, when all the Doctors were simultaneously sealing Gallifrey off, and not the actual sealing off of Gallifrey, because I'll get to that, and that's actually a positive, and I'll tell you why, but just the fact that all the Doctors were there. They had to throw the archive footage in there because it's the 50th anniversary special, and that just works and everything. Once again, I mean, it was, you know, I didn't even really enjoy it that much. You know, when they threw up all the screens of all the different Doctors, and, you know, all they're doing, like, oh, doing calculations, and of course it's out of context. Of course it's just archive footage. But I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I know that has to be in there. I know because it's the 50th, but I'm sorry, it doesn't work. I mean, in the name of the Doctor, it was very similar when we had Clara running around, you know, encountering the different, you know, she was spliced into different archive footage of the Doctor. I'm like, that's okay for a novelty, but if you actually think back to that actual episode of the old, because I've seen a couple episodes of the classic series, it's just like, where does it fit into place? Because I'm a continuity freak. I know for Doctor Who, that's a problem if you're a continuity freak, because you're going to have a bunch of shit retconned, but, you know, it's just like, where does this fit into their lives? And then we have a clip of the 9th Doctor. I'm like, okay, where does that fit into his life? Because that raises more problems. But that's just me nitpicking. That's not really, you know, a major problem with the special. Maybe I should have mentioned Billie Piper's being used. And Billie Piper, you know, she was, you know, used as Rose, but not the Rose we're used to. She was basically just kind of I don't even know how to say this. It's not really a cameo. Well, maybe it is a cameo, because we don't really get to see her that much. We get to see her in maybe 3 scenes. That's about it. But Billie Piper does not play Rose as the 10th Doctor's companion, which I'm glad they did that for the sense of the previously mentioned continuity. If they did have Rose as a companion of the 10th Doctor, it would have to take place during Season 2, Series 2, and it would just raise more problems of where does this fit in, why do they don't mention it. But they didn't use her like that. They used her as basically a interface for this kind of omnipotent device that the Time Lords have in their possession on Gallifrey that John Hurt Doctor steals, and he's going to use it to end the war, and it has an interface, and the interface, you know, looks into the Doctor's past or future, I forget which one of that is, and of course wibbly wobbly timey wimey, that's why it takes the form of Rose, or the Bad Wolf entity, if you want to be specific, but it's Rose. So yeah, so we have, it's funny because we have a omnipotent device taking the appearance of Rose as an omnipotent being. That's just, okay, if you wrap your head around that, whatever. But, yeah, so they didn't have Rose as a companion, which I think, yeah, it could have, like, Rose and Clara could have played off each other. They could have had, you know, dialogue between them, but, you know, at the end, but the thing is, the 10th and 11th Doctors can't even see her. It's only John Hurt that can see her, you know, and, it's kind of like his conscience or something, and, yeah, so that gets a little bit like, whatever, what can you do? I mean, I guess they couldn't have incorporated everything. There was one more thing I wanted to mention. And that was, yeah, the sealing off of Gallifrey and the big final, you know, ending there. I had a major, you know, fangasm when that happened, because that was my moment. I don't know what moment it was. There was at least one moment in this special where every Whovian that watched this show had to be like, eh. Also, when John Hurt called, you know, he was talking about the 10th and 11th Doctors, and he's just like, with your sand shoes and your dicky bow. I'm like, I laughed pretty hard at that too, but the other one scene was at the end when they were all clearing off they were all sealing off Gallifrey, and we had a special cameo of Peter Capaldi as the 12th Doctor, and of course it's not anything, he doesn't talk, and it doesn't even really show him that long. It's just, they're sealing him off, he's like, wait, no, there's one more, they're all 13 Doctors. Then we just seen a scene of a TARDIS, you know, guy pulls a switch, and then we see the close-up, like, upper half of his face, and we know it's Peter Capaldi. So that was not expected. That was greatly appreciated, though they threw that in there, just because we all know who the 12th Doctor is. See? We all know who the 12th Doctor is now, and, you know, it's been well known for the fandom, and, you know, it's been announced, so it's good they threw that in there. But also for the fact, this finally kind of concludes my long-staying stance on the new series of that the Time Lords kind of got the shaft in the Time War. What do I mean by this? Well, basically, this is the way I always view this. So, when the new series started, and we had Christopher Eccleston playing the Doctor, and he's talking about the terrors of the Time War to Rose. You know, it's a terrible thing. You know, all the Time Lords were wiped out, all the Daleks were wiped out. I'm like, okay, you know, massive war. All right, that's awesome. But after the series went on, we saw more and more Daleks. Like, oh, there were 2,000 that the Emperor saved. Oh, there was a couple that got saved in the void. Oh, there's more that were under the bed. You know, oh, there was more that were in the supply closet. You know, it's just like more and more of the Daleks kept popping up, and it's just like we see hardly any Time Lords, or really no Time Lords except for the Doctor, and it's just like, wow, the Time Lords got the shaft in this freaking war, because apparently all the Daleks are still around. But we finally get an explanation here exactly what happened in terms of, you know, everything falling into place, was that the Time Lords did not die, they just got sealed away in a dimension, which makes more sense with the end of time, because at the end of time, the Doctor's like, oh no, Gallifrey wasn't destroyed, it was just sealed away in a time lock. And, you know, and then the Master releases it, and it's just like, wait, we thought it was destroyed. It's just, so at least in that way, everything falls back, it nets together. So it's really just whatever, we always thought of the Time War as this big epic showdown, this big epic endgame between Daleks and Time Lords. The reality was, aside from having a badass name, it wasn't even anything close to that. Daleks survived, Time Lords survived, there was just a lot of deaths in between. So that's basically what it was, and I was happy it all netted together, and the special ends, I guess, I only call this a negative because I knew this was going to happen. Memory loss, amnesia, time lock, timey-wimey, you know, the timelines are out of sync, so that way you won't be able to retain what you learned. I'm like, okay, of course, we have to have some BS reason why David didn't remember it when he became Matt, or why John Hurt didn't remember it when he transformed to Christopher Eccleston, and Christopher Eccleston's still all brooding. It's a shame they couldn't have got him, it really is. I know he doesn't like to, I think the line he gave when he was approached was like, I don't like to come back for one appearance on a series, I like to actually stay with the series, and I can respect that, but just think of how way better it would have been if Christopher Eccleston was there. Just insanely better off. It really would have been. I think it would have fit together a hell of a lot better. But hey, what are you gonna do? It's funny that he wasn't even up to filming a cameo, like with Peter Capaldi. Maybe like when all the Doctors are sealing off the you know, the Gallifrey, they had to use archive footage from Christopher Eccleston. They could have just thrown in, like, you know, like, Chris, can we just get you to come in the studio? You know, put on the jacket, you know, walk in front of a green screen for 10 seconds and just be like, sealing off Gallifrey, or like, coordinates for Gallifrey set, or just say some specific line, and then you can go and you can get a hoagie, or you can get some Five Guys or whatever. Just this like 10-second cameo, please. But no, I guess not. Alright, so that's the end of the video. I'm good. That's basically all the stuff I want to get off my chest about the special. But overall, it's a great special. I'd give it an A-. You know, David is great, Matt is great, John Hurt is amazing, Billie Piper's great, Jenna's great. She actually had a kind of a role in this episode, even though her role was just basically shoved in the background, but she had a huge part. Probably the funniest part in the entire special is when, you know, she just walks in through the door, and she's like, the three of you in one cell, and you never even tried the door. And just, so, that was pretty hilarious. So yeah, Doctor Who 50th Anniversary Special, pretty awesome. Tekking101, 1001, whatever. Signing out.